All right, tip 7. Keyboard shortcuts save a lot of time. And you can see I'm even using keyboard shortcuts in Keynote. Option Command P is the keyboard shortcut for full screen presentation mode. I use keyboard shortcuts a ton. They make things a lot faster when you're working on a computer in general, especially when you're in a program like Photoshop. So I'm going to show you guys a few of these keyboard shortcuts where you can actually access all the keyboard shortcuts, then how you can create and change your own. All right, here we go. Back into Photoshop. The truck doll is awesome. I can't stop looking at it. All right.
You can go truck baby now.
Truck baby? All right, all right. I do like truck baby better, actually. Truck baby. All right, now we're talking. Now we're talking truck baby. All right. So keyboard shortcuts. To get to your keyboard shortcuts, you can go to Edit and then all the way down to the bottom to Keyboard Shortcuts. Or there's a keyboard shortcut, which is Shift Option Command K. So I'm going to use that. All right, Shift Option Command K. See how easy that is? I don't have to go up there and find it. Really easy. Now everything that's in Photoshop has a keyboard shortcut. So they're all listed here. If I go to File, I open this up, you can see all of my keyboard shortcuts are right here, easy access. I want to create a new document, that's going to be Command N. I want to open, it's going to be Command O. Now if you guys have a PC version of Photoshop, it will probably not say the Mac keyboard shortcut. So if you're ever curious on what your shortcut is for the version on your computer, it'll be listed right here. So this is very, very helpful. Some things that I like to do, let's say I'm working on Photoshop for a week or two and I find myself saying like, you know what, I use Gaussian blur a lot. I'm using it all the time. Why don't I set up a keyboard shortcut to make my life a little bit easier? So first thing I'll do is I'll check to see if Photoshop has a keyboard shortcut. Because if it is, I'll just write it down. I'll keep it on like a sticky note on my computer. I'll look at it for a week and then, you know, by the end of using it 10 times, I'll just know it. So let's check. So a blur, we were going to go to Filter. I'm going to scroll down here to where we see Blur, and we're going to go to Gaussian blur. Now by default, Photoshop actually does not have a keyboard shortcut for Gaussian blur. It looks like that. Okay, I use Gaussian blur all the time, so we're going to go ahead and add one. So what makes sense to me? Oftentimes, things like just Command G, those are usually taken up by Photoshop. It's very common. Command G is group. But if you hold Shift, Option, and Command, a lot of those are not taken up. So you can use a lot of those. So for me, I know Command G is going to be group. You know, Command M is going to be mask, or sorry, it's actually curves, which doesn't make any sense. See, Command M is curves. So if you're like, that doesn't make any sense. You could change Command M to be mask, or you could change Command C to be curves. So keep that in mind. If something doesn't make any sense to you, you can always change it. So here in our Gaussian blur, I'm going to hit Shift, Option, Command, and G. I don't have to type these out. I just hold down Shift, Option, Command, and hit G, and there we go. So the keyboard shortcut is now our Gaussian blur. And if there is a conflict, it'll give a little option here. Let's just say box blur. If I try to hit Command B, it'll say it's already in use. This is how it's used. Image, adjustments, color balance. You can say, I don't want to do that, undo changes, or you can accept it. This will take you right to color balance, and you can create another one for color balance if you'd like to do that. In this case, I don't need Command B. So Option, Shift, Command G is now my keyboard shortcut for Gaussian blur. Let's give it a shot. So let's say I want to do we're going to create a new layer here. All right. Well, you know what? We'll put this in our retouch group. Okay. And I am going to create a hard edge. There we go. Right there. Okay. And maybe I want this to look like it's a little bit of just like a little dark area in my image. So blur, Shift, Option, Command, G. There we go. Gaussian blur. That saves a ton of time over going to Filter, Blur, Gaussian blur. Because if you do that 50 times in an image, it's going to wind up taking you a lot of time. So I can blur that now, and there we go. We just have like a nice dark spot here, which will help draw more attention to my subject. Lighter areas draw more attention to your subject when they're close. If you wanted to draw attention away from a dark area, just make it a little bit darker. That's a good way to do it. Okay, cool. We are moving on. Tip 7. Let's go to tip 8. Have some fun with the filter gallery. This is so cool. I want to show you guys, you've probably played with a filter gallery already, but I want to show you something that maybe you have never done before. All right, filter gallery it's one of those things. It's a lot like drop shadows and truck babies. You got a pretty good chance of it looking horrible, but if you do it right, it's going to look great. That's how it goes. So first thing we want to do is I'm going to create a copy of everything I see. It's called a stamp visible layer. It basically Shift Option Command E is the keyboard shortcut. It's a copy of everything you see. Next, we're going to go from filter. I'm going to go down to our filter gallery. And this is a cool place to hang out and have some fun. If this is your idea of fun, then you're a lot like me and we'll have a lot to talk about. But in your filter gallery, you'll have a lot of options, things like colored pencils. I create a lot of effects. If I'm trying to create like a graphic design type of effect, cutout is really cool too. You can change your number of levels here. Sometimes if you go really simple, it can give it like an old retro poster looking type of thing. And that's just a couple of clicks. Super simple to do. Dry brush. Make sure to play around with all your settings here. Changing the brush size on a lot of things will add or subtract the amount of detail you have. Film grain, if you'd like to add some grain. A few others that I actually use would be down in here, all right, in the sketch. Because some of these are cool, like crosshatch or dark strokes. Some of these look cool, but you're like, I don't think I would ever actually use that. There we go. The stamp can look really cool if you're doing just a version between light and dark, and you can change your smoothness here. Torn edges I use quite a bit as well. Now let's go ahead and use our stamp. I think that looks cool. Now, what I want to show you guys is combining different tools, different filters with each other. So right here we have stamp, and you can see it's visible and invisible. But I can actually create a new one. This is what most people don't know. I can create a new effect, and it'll actually combine my different effects. So if I want to start this image out with like a cutout, okay? So I'm going to switch that to a cutout, and then I'm going to put this stamp over top of it, and then say, you know what, maybe I want it to be like a glass ripple, or I want this to be a charcoal or a graphic pen. All right, graphic pen. There we go. That's looking a little bit cooler. So I can combine multiple. This would look like it kind of looks like an old newspaper ad. I can change my stamp number of levels right here as well, kind of giving it that like old-timey feel. And you can change the order of these as well, which is going to completely change how this looks. A stamp applied or a cutout applied over top of a graphic pen is going to look different from the other way around. So when you're in the filter gallery, I highly recommend clicking around. That's the best way to see what you're doing. Gives you a really nice preview here, and then create a couple of different of these layers and effects, and then change the order of them. It's going to give you a lot more options because cutout and graphic pen combined creates something that you couldn't get on its own. So anyway, just a cool quick tip wanted to show you guys, and there we go. Truck baby never looked better.